Hey everybody, welcome to Hit Rewind. This is going to be another perfect concert playlist. And it's a special one, everybody. It's pretty good timing too, honestly. I didn't know this was happening, but there's a documentary about the Beatles right now that's getting all the buzz. And what are we going to do? We're going to do the top 20 of the Beatles. Yes, that's more than normal. The only time we ever go to 20 usually is if it's a band that had multiple singers and we split it up over the singers. The rules are you can pick 20 songs in an encore if you choose, and the encore could be a mixture of songs or whatever. And you can choose any of the solo songs from a band so like this one is the Beatles, so therefore you can choose solo songs from any of the four artists. And I'm your host, Michael, and on the other side is Ron.
What's up, guys?
It's been a while since we've done an episode. We usually do Next Planet Over, which is devoted to sci-fi shows, but it's been almost, I think it's been more than a year. When's the last time we even did an episode?
I don't want to try and put that math out there.
Yeah, it's been a rough year for both of us, so we're just trying to piece everything back together and try to be normal again. So I figured this will be a fun one for us. You were a bigger Beatles fan than I was for a long time, and then in college, you brought some. I can't remember if it was CDs or not, but we listened to Magical Mystery Tour and Sgt. Pepper all the time. I fell in love with those albums, but I always kind of held off from going to the stuff before that because I thought it was too simplistic and repetitive, and I was wrong. I go back and revisit. I was like, oh no, there's a lot of really good stuff in here. And I'm glad I got to revisit it because for a while there I was kind of like, I'm just sick of the Beatles. I'm one of those contrarians that was like, I like the Monkees more than the Beatles. But I love the friggin' Monkees, but the Beatles...
Gotta be different.
Huh?
You always got to be different, don't you?
Yeah, I know. It's just my...
It's okay, man. It's okay. That's good. That's good.
All right. So what we're going to do is I'll do half of my list. He'll do half. And then we'll go back and do the other half. And encores if we have them. So I'm going to go ahead and start. This is more of a mini-sode, I guess, if you want to say. We don't go into deep explanation. But I went in chronological order for the most part. Is that what
Same
you
here.
did?
Yep, definitely.
Okay. So yeah, sometimes I like to build a set list of how I want to see the concert go. And this one it's like the Ramones. There's so many songs. The only way for me to do it was to go in order. So starting off with Can't Buy Me Love. I think it's a big fun one for everybody just to get bouncing to, get the concert launched. Hard Day's Night. 8 Days a Week. Help. I think it's a little more of a mellow song, so it kind of dips down because there's a lot of energy in that first part of the concert. We Can Work It Out. Eleanor Rigby. Strawberry Fields Forever. Penny Lane. Sgt. Pepper. And Day in the Life. Most of my songs are kind of later after the first few albums.
Right.
All right, so go ahead.
There were a few I should have picked.
Yeah, well, it was really hard for me to cut this down. And I'm going to tell you guys right now, I always treated Ringo like a joke until comic book Eric Larson, the creator of Savage Dragon, pointed out that Ringo's first solo album is basically the last Beatles album because everybody collaborated together and some of the songs were being worked on as they were breaking up. And I listened to it, and I'm telling you right now, his first solo album is jaw-dropping good.
I wouldn't doubt that one bit. And honestly, Ringo's my favorite. I don't know why.
Really?
I can't put my finger on it. Maybe he's just kind of quirky, but he's always been my favorite.
Yeah,
and as a bass player, it should be Paul, but no.
Yeah, well, I think of the fact that he was also kind of the more goofy one. I think he was more appealing to kids, especially Caveman. Now, Caveman wasn't a huge hit in theaters, but it's one of those that played on TV all the time. And I still think it's pretty funny.
I totally forgot about that movie. Anyway.
The introduction, I think, of Dennis Quaid, honestly, and Shelley Long.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so what are your first 10?
Okay, so again, I did this in chronological order. So there's no particular, this is how we would play it on stage. So I'm just going from 1963 moving through here. So first song I came up with is I Saw Her Standing There, which is awesome. Okay, so who covered this?
It was Tiffany, right?
Tiffany, right?
Yeah, that's the first time I had heard the song, and then I realized it was a cover, and I heard the original. I do still prefer the original because I don't like that electric drum garbage of the late '80s.
I don't either, and I'll give you this though, but somehow Tiffany managed to pull off, and I blame. I don't know, blame because it's us, it's us, it's our generation that made this so popular. But I did not know that I Saw Her Standing There was a Beatles tune, and this is coming from a guy who loved the Beatles. So how did I not know that? But they, let's say Beatles, I think it topped on the chart at 14, and
Okay.
Tiffany's was 7. How did that happen?
Yeah,
But
Tiffany. I remember there was that war, and we're never going to discuss it on the show. Besides this point right now, that war between Debbie Gibson and Tiffany. I just remember being like, "No, I'm good without. I don't need either one. We're good."
well, apparently they collaborate nowadays, so they're good.
Oh, really? Well,
But
that's
anyway,
hey, you got to make the bill somewhere, right?
all right. So I'm getting off kilter here, but my next one would be Twist and Shout, of course. Who doesn't love
Oh man, I would have skipped that one. Dang it.
what?
Yeah, I
Beatles,
know.
number 2 on the list. Isley Brothers, who originally covered it,
Yeah.
17. Beatles killed it. I love the Isley Brothers. They did a fantastic job in this, and they based their version off of theirs. But Beatles had that little extra grit. Now
Well, that and we're big Ferris Bueller. Another thing from our generation is we know that version because of Ferris Bueller.
yeah. Well, that being said, yeah, it sounds like that. But if you listen to the Isley Brothers version, it's very similar. It's just
Oh,
not
okay.
as vocals aren't as edgy. But it was more for their time. It, well, that would have been the '60s. So the Isley Brothers was more of a coming out of the '50s kind of sound. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But it still had more of a rock beat to it, just like the Beatles were. But somehow the Beatles pulled out a number 2 charter on that one. So yeah, don't even get me started on Salt and Pepper and Mamas and Papa's version.
I didn't know either one existed.
Oh my gosh, the Mamas and the Papas, that organ, just oh. But anyway, I digress. Moving on. I wanted to say something about that because I thought it was really cool. There's a movie out that came out in what in the '90s called Backbeat,
Oh, yes, right.
and it's got some really big names from the '90s, where like from like Soul Asylum and the African Wing, Sonic Youth, so on and so forth. And I just recently found this movie because of doing this research. I'm like, I have got to watch this movie. I was
Oh,
listening
really?
to the soundtrack.
You didn't know about
No, I
it?
didn't. I
Oh,
didn't know about it.
wow, because that was something we watched in our house. I feel like we watched it quite a bit because Mindy really loved it, and it was about the original drummer Sutcliffe, right? Am I wrong?
Yeah, Sutcliffe, Stu Sutcliffe,
Yeah, played by Stephen Dorff.
bass. He was the original bassist.
Yeah,
Right.
that just got re-released by Shout Factory on Blu-ray.
Oh, I have to watch that. I did listen through the soundtrack, and it is phenomenal. They did a fantastic job. Um, it's what we would say is if you had to put together a dream band at the time, they did a very fine job putting
Good.
this one together. But anyway, okay. So we have I Saw Her Standing There, and I'm not going to do this through the whole list, guys. But I Saw Her Standing There is number 1. Twist and Shout number 2. Rock and Roll Music from Beatles for Sale. That was a Chuck Berry hit that I loved.
The
8
funny
days
is,
a week.
I didn't know they even did covers until today. I didn't know Twist and Shout was a cover, and I didn't know they ever did that song.
So I was on the same boat on a couple of songs. I kind of in the back of my brain felt like I'd heard them before, and it makes sense. As you're starting out, you're going to probably cover some other tunes here
Right.
and there. Uh, but Hard Day's Night would have been next. Where am I at? Is that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Okay. Can't Buy Me Love is 6. Help. I've Just Seen a Face. Yesterday. Is that
I
how
don't,
many is that?
I don't know. I've just seen a face, huh?
There is an awesome, great guitar. It's got kind of a country beat to it. It's got a great guitar intro, and it's not fancy many means, but it's a nice acoustic sound. I love it.
I think it's fun.
That's me.
And I mean, I basically said it in the beginning of the episode. Is you're a Beatles fan way before I was, and I still, for the most part, except for those 2 albums, I've only ever heard like their greatest hits. So mine's a little
Right.
mainstream. If you want to call me a poser, that's fine. I look great
No, you're
posing.
good. I honestly, I credit it to my stepfather Fane. He had every Beatles album that he could get his hands on, at least. I don't know
Wow.
about bootlegs or anything like
Yeah.
that. So I used to joke around like when we were trying to put this list together. I told you, I'm like, you sure you want to do 10 songs? Because every song's like 2 minutes long. I could put like 4 albums on a 90-minute cassette. But anyway, what was this? See, I had just seen a face yesterday. I mean, how can you not include that one?
I didn't.
I'm
Oops.
kind of. You did. You did. You did not.
Yesterday's not on here. I'm sorry.
Well, I like some of their older ballad type stuff too, but Norwegian Wood would be number 10
All right.
for Rubber Soul.
All right, so my next 10 starts off with, like I said, a big part of my stuff here is later era. So, I Am the Walrus. I know people treat that like it's a goofy throwaway song. I just really like it. Magical Mystery Tour, Lady Madonna. God, I love that song. Dun, 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 dun. It's so peppy and fun. And then I think one of the most awesome songs they've ever done, and it's been proven because it's really used in advertising a lot, is Revolution. Back in the USSR, I think is a really great, fun song. And then Obla Di Oblada, a bouncy, fun track. The first time I had heard it was, I believe it was the original opening theme for that TV show Life Goes On, if you remember that.
Yes.
Get Back.
Boy, what I do.
I got bad breath. Go away. Get Back, I think, is a really great wrap-up track for them. Then I'm going to go into 2 solo tracks. Now, I wrote this before I discovered Ringo's album, and I feel really bad now. I almost feel like we need to do a whole episode of just solo songs.
Well, you say we're going to miss out on a lot of really good songs. There's no way around it. So.
Okay, so maybe we'll come back and do solo tracks as well. But What Is Life is my favorite George Harrison track. And I know when I was a kid, I was really, I got my mind set on you, but it's a fun song, but really there's not a lot of depth to it.
You know how long it took me to realize that was the Beatles singing that song?
Oh, really? Yeah, I just remember that video and I was like, oh, George Harrison, okay. And then Instant Karma by John, I think is my favorite track of his. I know Imagine is the more important one, but Instant Karma I think is really, really good. And then the final track where they all come back together, and it's a little obvious, but Come Together is the final track.
Is it really?
Yes, I know it's obvious. It's an easy one, but I really appreciate it. I actually really like the Aerosmith cover of it as well.
I would say they did. As far as the Beatles go and breaking into the rock scene back in the day, they had a finger on the pulse of what was coming.
Yeah.
You know, they had lyrics going on, some edgy vocals here and there. There was one song in particular, I can't remember which one it was. I think I've got it on my list, but yeah, Helter Skelter is like coined as it's like the precursor to modern day heavy metal.
Yeah, it's wild. It's still so wild to me that that's a Manson song.
Right? It's not a Manson song. He was inspired by the song. People get the story mixed up.
Okay. So I guess for some reason I thought Charles Manson wrote Helter Skelter. Well, okay.
I don't know. And maybe I'm hearing the other side of what's the wrong story as well. Who knows? But as far as I know, and this is what I read, the actual story is that it was a song that was written and he was inspired by it and went on a murder spree.
Oh, good lord. I'm going to look this up right now to see who wrote it.
Great story.
But what you see through now looking back on history, especially with certain movies that kind of show the competition between, and nobody ever talks about, there's a competition between the Beatles and the Beach Boys. They were always challenging each other to create new sounds. You know, the Beatles were fascinated by the harmonies that the Beach Boys could come up with, and the Beach Boys were more of it was Brian Wilson was more invested in complicating the sound, make it more elaborate, and they were bouncing off each other and giving each other notes of what they thought, or whatever. And it was like a friendly challenge to see who come with a really complicated album. But if you look, there's also the Monkees were seeing what was going on, that they were a joke. When people found out they didn't play their own instruments, they had to write their own songs, they had to play their own instruments, and you know their last couple albums are really complicated. And then they do that movie Head, which is a parody of themselves, but also a parody a bit of the Beatles. And so the Beatles are really pushing the format further into a denser, more complicated sound.
Right.
Okay, I'm looking it up. Go ahead
I
and
agree.
tell me your next 10 while I look up to see who wrote Helter Skelter.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, continuing on the Rubber Soul album, "In My Life" is one of my absolute favorites. Eleanor Rigby with those strings. I love the cello. "Good Day Sunshine." You're talking about happy-go-lucky songs. What better song can you have than that?
I didn't know they
Um,
sang that. Did someone else cover that? Because I feel like I know that song better from somebody else.
I don't know. Honestly, I don't even know if they wrote it or if there's a cover. I couldn't tell you that. I'd have to look that up. But I just know I like it.
Okay, Helter Skelter
Um,
was not written by Manson. I'm really sorry. That was a Lennon and John collaboration.
Not a problem. Like I say, it's a common thing that people throw out there. So um, this just proves, guys, just a quick Google search, and you can actually. Anyway, um, anyway, where was I? "Good Day Sunshine," "Fool on the Hill." It
Oh,
seems like it's
that
kind of a slow song, but
yeah.
it's got a tenderness to it that I really like.
Yeah, that's a really
Talking
good
about
one.
talking about songs that are fun. "I Am the Walrus." Go Coo Choo. Come on. Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. To be honest, I love this whole freaking album.
Yes.
But you have to pick, right? So Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, of course. I love "With a Little Help from My Friends," especially the lines in there where essentially you're getting in trouble with a little help from your friends. But we know a little bit about that.
We
But
played
anyway,
that at work, by the way, and I keep expecting someone to go, "Did he say get high with his friends?"
sure did. Hey, he met High on Life. Anyway,
Yeah.
uh, and it's sung by Ringo. So hey, I love it. "A Day in the Life" off of that album too is another one of my favorites. And then we move on to the White Album, "While My Guitar Gently Weeps." As a guitarist, I love that song.
Have you ever
Blackbird.
seen Prince's
Go ahead.
cover at the George tribute? Or did I send that to you?
Yes, I have seen
Oh
that,
my
and it
god,
is
is it beautiful? It's so
fantastic.
oh.
I mean, if anyone is going to do that song justice and add more flavor to it, it's going to be Prince. But Blackbird would be another one. And as a guitar player, again, I will learn this song someday. Someday. Of course, Helter Skelter's on there. Motley Crue's cover of that I really like.
Oh
Um,
right, yeah, yeah.
um, and Revolution number 9. Oh, I'm just kidding. Uh,
Number nine. Number
number
nine.
9. Number 9. And so here's where we run into a problem when you're doing a set list for the Beatles. I can't narrow it down. So I've got a 4-song encore here, if you will, but I'm going chronological, so whatever. Abbey Road's "Come Together," of course. You got that one. "Let
Yep.
It Be," "Get Back," and then I actually really like "Free as a Bird" from the Beatles anthology that was
Oh yeah, I
an
forgot about
old
that one.
song released in '95. I really liked it, actually.
Yeah, that some people called that just like a cheap cash in, but I think what they were trying to do is just give you a lot of the lost stuff or the
Yeah,
unfinished stuff. And it wasn't necessarily. I mean, why wouldn't you want to know about these? I mean, they're one of the most legendary bands of all time, and they have stuff in the vault. Of course, people are going to be interested in it. Yeah.
you were born in. Am I supposed to put your age out there?
What's
You were
that?
born in '77, right?
I'm good.
Were
Why?
you born
What's...
in '77?
Yeah, I
Were
was
you
born.
born in '77? That's
Yes.
how old
Why
the
are we
song
talking over
is.
each other? Yes, I was born in '77.
Sorry. Uh, it's like trying to get. Never mind. Anyway, so this song, that's how old that song actually is. It was written in '77, but it was a demo, and it seemed like a pretty finished song to me. But well, no, he said he released it. Yeah, it was released actually.
Huh.
No. Home demo by John. Okay, so anyway, a lot of people don't like it. Like you said, it was like a cash grab, but I really loved it. And honestly, releasing the anthologies, I got to see and hear, like we all did, get to hear the inner workings of what went on in the studio here and there. It's great to hear that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I guess that's
Knowing
what
that
this new
perfect
documentary is
song
about,
isn't
is
perfect.
that it's more behind the scenes.
Yeah, I mean, and most of us know that the songs that we hear, that's not just okay. We sit down, we record it, and move on. There's a whole lot more to it than that, and multiple takes, and multiple headaches, and multiple fuming, and walking out on people, and then coming back with a clear head, and it is what it is. But because they go through all the pain without, we get to hear the beautiful end product, and I love Free as a Bird because of that. Or excuse me, the anthology because of that. Anyway, so that is the end of my encore. And unfortunately, like I said before, we have left out quite a bit. I know we have.
Yeah.
But...
Well, we should come back and do the solo stuff.
Okay.
You could easily get 20 songs out of, or at least 10, I don't know, out of the solo stuff.
I'm okay with that.
But first, we have one more episode lined up before we do the Beatles solo stuff, and that is going to be, now this would never happen in reality, we know this, but this is all just, we're having fun. So, these bands are so unlike each other. But we have an episode where, hey, what if... I'm looking at this right now, and it's just hilarious to me. Huey Lewis, ZZ Top, and Foreigner were in a concert together. We have 20 songs between the three artists.
Oh my gosh.
I know. But we had a list of like significant artists from that era that we could actually think of, making a list for. And frankly, these are the three oddballs that really didn't connect to any other kind of band from this era. So we figured, why not just do it one whole thing?
Oh my goodness, this is going to be fun.
Yeah. We should do the Beach Boys, and I'm sure someone else could, be with the Beach Boys, because there's clearly 20 songs we could do with them, but I just don't know who to pair the Beach Boys with.
They've got quite a few groups at the time that probably would fit their genre.
Yeah, we could do like 15 Beach Boys, but we could have a special opening act for 5 or something like that. I don't know. Or I've always wanted to do an Elvis episode. I love Elvis, and come up with 20 songs, because that could clearly happen. Maybe have an opening act for him as well with 5. Jerry Reed, yes.
Yes.
And those two are actually connected because he hired Jerry Reed, I think, to do some guitar work for him, and just kind of kept that sound for a few albums.
Yep.
But that is it for this episode here. Ron, thank you so much. It's been so long.
No problem. It is. This is fun.
Yeah,
I've not listened to the Beatles in so long.
Yeah, well, this is also easier than the sci-fi shows. It's something that I think the reason why we haven't done an episode in forever is because I feel like we've covered nearly everything that I've wanted to discuss. And just watching one episode of a show doesn't really give you an idea of what it's about, unless it's truly terrible.
It's a lot easier to absorb 3-4 minute long songs over and over.
Yeah.
Than it is something.
Yeah, and I think this might be something fun for us to do, is more in the music area. But so check us out on all your podcast hosts and whatever, Facebook and Twitter under Hit Rewind Podcast. And thank you very much for listening. And Ron, thank you.
No problem, anytime.
All right, we're out, everybody.